I'm getting goosebumps with anticipation, Anthony.
I'm feeling green.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hello, people of Earth. I'm Glenn Hausman. That's Anthony Melchiori. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. Anthony, so great to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you. You know, so funny.
Yeah.
I was impressed with your hair. I thought you got a haircut, looked good. And then I was taking a sip of water, and I was looking at the intro, and I saw your hair.
Oh my God!
You made fun of it before, but I spit out my water,
dude. I was just watching a show from February of 2021, and my hair was like out of here. It was out of control.
It was pretty ridiculous.
I'll tell you what, my hair might be ridiculous, but one thing, Anthony, that is definitely not ridiculous is this great system from Avgo. You know, it's a real win-win scenario here for hoteliers. Because what they get to do is they get to, put a shortfall in labor over there. This will fill that gap, but it'll still give great customer experience because a real human being will help people check in. Absolutely cool check-in kiosk. Go to avgo.com, AAVGO.com. Anthony, I'm looking forward to seeing these in hotels.
I really think that this fills a need for a lot of hotels. I really do. I think, especially if you're showing up, you don't have a night auditor in a hotel and you're showing up in the middle of nowhere and you want to feel that security a little bit, that you just don't get your key under a mat. You walk into the lobby, and there's somebody, behind the computer. I love that. I really do.
Yeah, so please check him out. Give him a shot. AAVGO, avgo.com. They're going to be sponsoring us through into next year. So please give them a shot. So Anthony, I'm excited because we've got our friend coming back to the show. I miss the days when he was here all the time, but when you're a fancy pants, you get to be Mr. President.
Why don't you give people a background of what company he was running, then his promotion, and now his elevation to king.
So this is the best because we're going to make him sit backstage and be really uncomfortable while we talk about him. There's nothing he can do about it. Yeah. So our friend Chris Green, I've known him for a long time. It was great. I believe he was chief operating officer over at Chesapeake when I first met him. And he became president and CEO over there. And then he successfully helped through the acquisition and the merger with Remington Hotels, where he was regional president. And now he's getting rid of that regional thing, and he's president of the whole kit and caboodle. Let's welcome our friend. Big congratulations, Chris Green. How are you, man?
Thanks, guys. I'm glad to be back. I'm good. I'm standing in the lobby of one of our hotels here in Dallas, the Dallas Fort Worth Marriott. Great, very busy hotel. So, but it's good to be back with you guys, especially with everything that's going on.
Well, I know you probably won't give us credit, but we take full credit for your promotion. Sloan called us for a reference, and I was just like, he's like, listen, Anthony, it's up to you and Glenn. If you think he's the guy, we're going to promote him, and you're welcome.
What's funny is that he said I got some bad references, and I didn't know where that came from.
No, I gave you a good reference.
Dude,
okay.
You weren't supposed to tell. Come on, man.
No, but seriously, dude, we've witnessed you visually. We've seen you go through the last 2 or 3 years, and to go through the pandemic, then go through the merger, now in the position you're in, it couldn't happen to a better person. And congratulations.
Thank you very much. And Glenn, I see you're relaxing outside somewhere that looks familiar to me.
Yes, it does. I might be at one of your hotels. I don't have any trivia intros here, but can you name your hotel?
Yes, I think that is our autograph collection, Hotel Paradox in Santa Cruz.
Oh, that's really good. You told them to put that up in the green room. That's fascinating.
Anthony, you're dispelling all the magic over here at No Vacancy Live.
Don't you know how TV works, Anthony? Yeah. I thought you did. Yeah.
So Anthony,
I'm new to this.
I do have to ask you, what has been more fun to watch over the last 3 years? Chris's stress levels or my ever-growing, changing hair?
I will tell you, because Chris wears his heart on his sleeve, to see him comfortable, where he's again, Chris, if I can just kind of put words in your mouth, it looks like he's very, very busy, but being busy with the stuff he's supposed to be busy with, not busy with shutting hotels.
Listen, you guys were with me, and it was so cathartic what we did, but I'm actually here in Dallas. This week is a big week for the company. We bring everybody together from commercial and accounting and operations, and we spend time together looking into 23 and also celebrating 22. And so for me, it's a big week, right? Because I'm new to the role, and I'm getting to kind of talk about what I believe and how we proceed forward as a group under Sloan's direction. And it's so exciting because, Anthony, your points are exactly right. I'm actually back doing what I love, operating hotels and being part of a team. I was in a forecast meeting this morning, which was amazing because I'm so tired. I actually said, my first point was the pandemic's over. It's over, and we're not talking about it anymore because 23's got its own challenges. It's going to be an amazing year. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but it's going to have its challenges and headwinds and tailwinds. And we need to focus on operating hotels. That's what we all do. That's what we're paid to do, and we love to do. And that's why you see the energy, because I'm back doing what I love.
And to your point, it's if you're sick, stay home and do what your doctor tells you to do. But we're no longer in the pandemic. You're sick, whether you have the flu or whatever you have, stay home, but we got to do business. And I can't agree with you more. But I tell you, Glenn and I are feeling slighted because you're having this big event and neither one of us are there to help you do a Q&A or anything.
I don't think it's that kind of event, is it, Chris?
No, this is more of a business meeting, but it's still going to be fun. It's going to be great. We'd always do. One thing I love about, and you guys, we talked about this at the merger time, was the cultures are so similar. We do celebrate a lot, and we also have fun together. The team that works hard together and plays hard together stays together and wins. And so we're going to do some work, and we're going to have some fun. I think there's like an escape room in my future and some other things this week. So it's really great. And the people have asked me what came together the best, and really the culture came together very fast, because what Sloan has done and the leadership team here is create what we worked hard to create at Chesapeake, which was a thriving culture. So
right, and that's the reason why you guys found it such a a great way to come together. But Chris, before we start getting into it, I'm curious if you could share with everyone. We got a lot of younger folks out there. How does this change what you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis? And Sloan is now CEO as opposed to president and CEO. So how are all of the delineations between those two roles going to go forward when it comes to Remington Hotels?
I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, the biggest change really is that I'm going to be, and I am responsible for all the field-facing verticals in the company. So operations, commercial services, sales, marketing, revenue management, digital, and then accounting, everything that services our field of hotels, of the 118 hotels, 27 brands in 26 states that we have going right now, right? So all of that falls under my purview. Sloan is handling bigger corporate issues, right? Integration on IT stuff, M&A, and any kind of new development that we got working on. He's leading the development team, leading IT, leading corporate HR, which we've got a new Chief Human Resources Officer, Amanda Gray, who came over, and she's leading our efforts in diversity and inclusion. So Sloan's got his hands full with the corporate strategy and forward-looking momentum, and I've got my head down in the ground helping the team to succeed.
Awesome.
It's interesting, and I said this to Glenn last time we were together, and I saw you. I said one or two things that happened. He saw the merger through. And they saw his value, so they brought him on, and he hits a speed bump, and all of a sudden you hear Chris Green is now president of ABC company, or Chris Green in the next 6 months to a year gets promoted to the to the president or some title. I don't remember what title I used. Did I say that, Glenn?
Yes, he did say that, although I can't remember the title he used too. I think he said he used Kingpin or something like that.
And so my point being is it says a lot about Sloan and your relationship, because what was really, really important to you was culture. And again, I don't really typically like that word, but your spirit and your heart and your ability to do what you do, to put that on Remington. Now it's no longer on anything else. It's now on Remington. That says everything about you and everything about Sloan seeing that. So really, again, it says a lot, because I've been doing this a long time like you guys, and I've seen people like you just, busted up, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I don't see his view, he doesn't see my view, so we're going to be nice to each other, and you're going to politely go on and do something else. To see you actually kind of work together to build this company, it doesn't happen very often, and you know that.
No, I know it doesn't. And we've seen some of these relationships kind of fall apart, right, in other mergers and acquisitions. What I said to a recent person I was talking to is, in my mind and in all actuality, this signals that what we were saying to the marketplace, because listen, every time you have a merger, okay, this is where you guys like, where I give you every time you have a merger, there's always talking points, right? This is good for us and this is good for them. Well, here's the deal. You know me. I wasn't going to do it if it wasn't really good. And
That's
so
right.
in my mind, Sloan's willingness to elevate me and the proof that we are coming together so well signals that we were telling the truth when the merger occurred.
Right.
And I don't know why my camera's going bright and dark. I apologize.
It probably has to do with your hands moving around.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, you know what it is? When Sloan likes what you're saying, he gives you light. When he doesn't, he gives you dark.
Right. Cuts off. He's in like this master thing, shutting off my microphone. So.
I just want to bring realism. I want to really just kind of dig down, because I have a perspective that not many people have, right? So I am telling you, yes, that's true, Chris. And you can say, I did this because I knew this was the right thing to do. And you did it with an open heart. But you know as well as I do, sometimes, it just doesn't work out. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. Whether there's an underlying decision, or you just realize you don't like each other, or whatever it is, financial, whatever, it doesn't work out. So to see it work out, when I was already, like, again, I was telling Glenn, it's like, we'll see what happens here. I am hoping and praying that it works out in everybody's interest. And it did. And when I found out that happened, I literally said, that's because of not what you did even during the pandemic. It's the way you started your career and your moral compass. People see it. And I just don't want that to be unsaid, that you don't get to this position. You don't do what you did by accident. You do it with all the little things that no one sees. So really proud of you.
I appreciate that. And I think what you're talking about, though, moral compass is true, but also it's a leadership lesson. It's a leadership lesson that I've learned over my 30 years in this business is you got to check your ego at the door. If you're really putting the organization, people first, right, then you've got to set aside your ego. You've got to set aside, and you've got to put the organization first. You can't say it and then not do it. I used to tell people I have broad shoulders because I'm here to hold up the organization, not my broad shoulders because I'm bulldozing the organization. And honestly, Sloan and I are really aligned on a lot of things. Are we different? Absolutely, we're different. And that's what makes it great, right? Sloan is great on the deal side and on the M&A side and on the development side and strategy side. I probably have more experience in the ops side. It's just a fact. So we're going to make a good team. And what I can bring is things that we didn't have before. So it's to me, I have to give Sloan a ton of credit, right? Because running this company is an honor, and Sloan had the honor of doing it. And to give me a piece of the pie, a company as beautiful as this with such great hotels, I mean, that sets his ego aside. I think it shows his leadership.
If I can say this, Chris, and I think it's important we always say there's zero barrier to entry into this industry, and only if you work hard and you dig in and you do what you say you're going to do you really kind of see this industry through, and you go through hard times like you have before pandemic and now during pandemic. So I want to bring this up because you've been very open about it. You did not go to college, correct? And I
did go. I just found out that I liked working more. I was working at a restaurant and I saw a path to success more than I did like sitting in a room. So.
Right. And Glenn, who's president of Remington Hotels today?
That would be Mr. Chris Green right there.
Right. So I think that's really, with your permission, I'm going to use that and talk about that in every place that I go. That like I am a champion of this industry, but I'm also a champion of hard work. And when you get kicked in the what's, go in the corner, cry a little bit, get up and keep going. And like I said, and the other day I had a day where I had to put my pants on and walk out the door because I was having a challenge. And I took my advice. I was like, Anthony, just walk out the door, put your pants on and keep going. And you're a testament to all of that. And okay, so I'm done with my cheerleading. I'm putting my pom-poms down.
Well, here's the thing that you, Anthony, and my dad had in common. My dad was enlisted in the Air Force. He served in the Air Force for 27 years, enlisted, not an officer. And I was actually thinking about that on the way here, about the grit he displayed, working 3 jobs, 2 sons, multiple sports. And I learned what I learned about being hard work and driving for what the things you want for your family and for your friends and for your career. That I learned all that from him. You know, God rest his soul. He left us way too early. But here's the thing. You can do anything you want in this business. I've been saying it for years. And all of you that are watching, if you're not getting into hospitality right now, you're missing the greatest opportunity that has existed in my lifetime, because we are short people. And, you know, I actually did this rocket ship, right? I went from a department head to a GM in 4 years. Back then it was unheard of. I think that can be done 10 times over now. If you really want to get in and learn and apply yourself and you love what we're doing, get in this business, because the need for great talent is as huge as it's ever been. So
just to correct you, you don't have to be short short people. You can be tall people too.
All right, that was brought to you by Randy Newman over there. So Chris, let me ask you this: as you guys went through the merger, there's going to be some things that are bumpy, some things that are smoother. What in your thoughts, looking back at it, was something that was surprisingly more complicated than you expected, and something that went a lot smoother than you thought it would, and why do you think that happened?
Well, the most smooth was culture, right? Because
Yep.
we were aligned on that. That was super smooth. I would say dropping into things like commercial, like the selling process, and then the operating process. Those things they're pretty baked, right? There's like different technologies nowadays.
Right.
There's only so many ways you can clean a guest room or check a guest into a hotel. So those things really aligned well. I think that when you talk about the differences of integrating, so Chesapeake had 16 owners for 30 plus hotels at the time we merged. And then Remington had, 14 for 90, let's say at the time. So we were bringing more owners per hotel. So it created a whole need for client centricity. And we used to have a very bespoke type curated service. Each client had a little bit different reporting that they needed for their bank, or because they were a family office, where a lot of the things we were doing at Remington was a little bit more standardized, because we have some large REIT clients and institutional clients. So that was what was really took the time, was to understand that it's okay for this is an operating hotel and this is an operating hotel. They just need a little bit of different love. And so that's been something we've been working on, right?
So explain to people that don't know, who are coming into the industry, who listen to this podcast to learn about the industry, explain to everyone what a REIT is, and explain why reporting with a REIT is a little bit different than reporting into just mom and pop that own 3 or 4 hotels. And what does that look like? So give us an example of those two kind of scenarios.
Sure. So we manage for 2 affiliate REITs, Ashford Hospitality Trust and Braemar Hotels. And their REITs are real estate investment trusts, tax efficient vehicles for owning hospitality real estate and generally hotels. Okay. So there's other type of REITs, there's office REITs, but we manage for hotel REITs. They're publicly traded. So they have Sarbanes-Oxley requirements for all of their accounting. They're very complex on their audit tests. And so they're very institutional as far as the data they need, the way they need reporting, how they need reporting, and timelines. Whereas if you're dealing with a family office, so high net worth individual that owns the Paradox, let's say, then they have different requirements, right? Because they might have a bank loan with a local bank where they have an established relationship. They may literally be taking cash flow from that asset as income, annually, dividends, disbursements. So it's different when you have to either ask them for capital to invest in the hotel and do renovations, compared to a large conglomerate where they probably plan further out, right? They've got 5-year capital plans. They know that you're going to be doing this hotel in 2026 and this one in 27, and they already are amassing the capital to do that, where the individual owner, they're focused on what's right in front of them this year, this month, paying the mortgage, keeping the hotel clean, keeping a good staff. So it's very, very different, and yet very much the same. And I think that's the interesting part of the merger, was we have all this horsepower at Remington. We have one of the best ratios in the business for above property staff to hotels. So we were able to apply a ton of support and a ton of resources, but applying it in different manners, right? It looks one way to institutional, and it looks another way to private owners, which is what generally is what Chesapeake did.
Right.
That really should be a master class in the difference, and that was beautifully said. And I'll add, a REIT cannot manage their own properties. That's why they hire management companies. They're not allowed to manage their own properties. How they do that is they have an asset manager that kind of oversees the management, not oversees it, but just checks in with the management and is their liaison. But that I think
that's who we work with. We work with the asset managers at the REITs, and they're like our owner rep. So
right.
On individual hotels, we work with the actual owner, right?
But
So
also, I think what's important is that a REIT has an exit strategy. Okay, if they have a fund, however they do it, they have an exit strategy to either sell that hotel or reinvest in that hotel in 5 years. Whereas a mom and pop, they're kind of, a lot of them are just really enjoying owning hotels, and they're taking the cash flow and they're supporting their family. And if an opportunity arises, or they just say, you know what, I'm going to give this to my great grandchildren. So it's really interesting that you get to play in all those fields.
And I love it, and it makes us better, right? Because you can't help but get better when you're going through the heavily detailed P&Ls that we go through
right.
on the REIT side. It can't help but make you better for the individual hotel owner that really just cares about cash flow and balance sheet issues, right? So you're going to be a much better manager and leader when you understand both sides. And I've been fortunate. I've managed REIT hotels a lot of my life, but primarily high net worth individuals and family offices. So understanding the full scope is what makes it fun. And they're very, very different. And to your point, Anthony, the thesis, I talked about this yesterday, the thesis of owning hotels for every group is so different. Some are opportunistic, some are investors, but then some are, we call them, I hate to say ego play, but they want to own the hotel in town because they're a big investor in that town. They've been in that town for 40 years, and they don't care about as much how much it makes as how good it serves the community, and what a good steward it is of the community's resources. So we can manage all kinds. We just have to understand the thesis, and that's where the curated kind of bespoke management team has to be in place.
So how do you balance the different needs and different priorities of different types of clientele effectively and efficiently?
I mean, that's of course a challenge, but we try to look for strengths in our team and our leadership team that point to those. So, on the pure third party side, there's a high EQ required, right? You got to understand there's conversations that are happening between you and the owner that may be subtle, but you need to understand what the goals are, right? Where when you're talking institutional, it's here's the number, here's the target, here's the flow through expectation, go do it, right? So there's different, even within our industry, which I love, and I know Anthony loves it too. There's leaders, general managers that are all different. There's business creation GMs, there's maintenance GMs, there's turnaround GMs and DOSs and directors, and so you have to have a team of all of that to be able to win.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to recognize that, because that's where GMs kind of really I don't know how bad it is now, because there's more leaders like you than when we were growing up. Because the general manager came from maintenance or revenue manager or sales or front desk, and they all of a sudden get caught up in a meeting and they don't know what the hell they're doing. I'd be the first one to say, early on, I was in a lot of meetings. I was like, what? How does that work? What happened? I didn't know anything about that. Okay. And I had ownership that didn't really know anything either. So we learned together, and I wasn't ostracized. So it is great to have a leader like you when you do have a general manager that got promoted for one reason or another and is very good, but his skill set doesn't bring everything to the table. You teach them and mentor them instead of just kind of isolate them.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then, Chris, you were talking about that you're all getting together for your highlights throughout the year, right? So what were some of those highlights for the company as a whole, on how it relates to what you think business demand is out there?
So we had a really good year. The good news is that overall we're going to be really close to 19 on a nominal RevPAR. Wow. And I am going to see if they can turn the music down a little bit if it's loud in the background, guys. I'm sorry. So we had a really good year. We also had a really good year of bringing people back on. We were able to fill a lot of jobs that were open through the pandemic. and that creates energy in the hotel. And we're having a massive year in group bookings, right? We've been able to refill our funnel, and actually we're ahead of 19 pace now, which is awesome. Finishing out the year, we just pulled ahead a couple of weeks ago on the 13th of 2022. But then for 23, we're very, very strong. So that's a big win, right? So that's your support factor, your group base, especially in a company like ours where we're full service, upper upscale hotels like this one, 500 plus rooms, a lot of meeting space, right? You've got to definitely have your group base on. So having that base gives us great confidence in the roll forward. So
I'm curious, is it still that pent up demand for meetings that were canceled in 2021 that's helped fill up that funnel, or are we worked through that and this is all just net gain kind of stuff now?
Both and. So pent up demand. So like big hotels, again, like this one, associations, national associations, state associations, those things book a couple of years out. So they started thinking about coming back, and then they booked a little bit last year, or that helped our pace. So those are the big ones.
Right.
But corporations, and this is I meant to bring my sheet up here because I coined 2 new terms. I'm going to coin them right here today on your show. Okay. New corporations are doing Greisure, 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 and what did I call it? Gribbet. Greisure and Gribbet. Those are my new terms. Okay, GRIBT. Okay. Group leisure and group IBT. So right, we've heard bleisure. So I was trying to be cute there. I don't know if it worked or not.
No, it was definitely worked because we need something better than bleisure.
Greisure and Gribbet. So
either one of those, and neither one of those are better than bleisure.
But they're a fact. Here's the thing, Anthony.
They're a fact. They're just not better.
So here's the thing. Everybody's like, where are IBT? Where's IBT? Because it's been performing at about 65%.
People with IBT is that everybody knows what IBT is.
Okay, an individual business traveler. So Pfizer, Merck, Amazon corporate, all those big travel, companies that travel for business. So everybody's like, where is it? Well, I think it's hidden. And it's hidden in Greisure, which is group meetings, right? Where people go and they go to some leisure and they roll it into a company meeting because everybody's remote now. So they're getting people together. And then people are going to group meetings, which are happening, small corporate meetings. And then they're visiting clients in those markets. So that's the Gribbet part where the individual business traveler is going, okay, I'm going to go to Pittsburgh, do the meeting, and then I'm going to stay 2 days and I'm going to visit clients in Pittsburgh. So people are maximizing their time in cities through travel to do everything, have fun, work, visit their colleagues. It's just interesting how things are moving around the market segments. And
just new rule, no bringing terms together anymore. That's all.
So does that mean you expect there to be fewer but longer trips in general for 2023?
I would say on average, yes. That you're going to see a net increase in length of stay. Just because everybody tags on now. Everybody tags on. I'm staying through this weekend. My wife's coming out. We're going to do something out here. So, I think it's going to be exciting. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but like just being back doing hotels is so fun. This is so fun. I know it's loud, but hearing people in the lobby going to the airport, and it's awesome.
If you're training for a fight or you're training for a marathon, you're training for a big thing, there's an excitement in your voice, in someone's voice that you just could feel. And so that's what it feels like to me. Like I remember times where you were like kind of not doing so great, but you feel like you're training for something bigger. And that's exciting. But it's exciting for everyone. But I just don't want everyone to forget about the number one most important thing. And I'm writing an article for Lodging Magazine. I write every month. And somebody asked me, it was Ask Anthony, and said, what's the biggest challenge? And I wrote, the first 10 words I wrote was staffing, RevPAR, group business, technology. I said, pick one and I can write a book about either one of them, right? So we just can't forget about the growth of people into this industry. That to me, as a matter of fact, we'll talk about it offline, but that to me, we have to double down. And we just can't talk about it. We just can't say, okay, we're going to promote this person, we're going to promote that person. But we got to talk about not so much training, but certification. but education within the organizations, within Remington, within the other companies I'm working with. Like, how do we certify people? Because what I've recognized something at a company I'm working with Colin, where they certify people, there is a pride that is different than training. That's different than even a degree. It's like, I am certified to be in this department because I was taught this. I was educated in this. And there's a pride with that. And that to me has got to be our singular focus, because we got annihilated. Forget about that the COVID took us down, and forget that we lost employees, but just from perception wise, we got annihilated. Because people's like, I'm not going back to that because I was overworked and I was supposed to be cross-trained. I was never cross-trained, so I'm going to drive an Uber. We have got to ensure that never happens to us again.
I agree. I think that's I kind of quantify it as, talent drain or brain drain, if you want to call it that. Like, we have lost a lot of capacity in leadership in this business through the past few years. And frankly, we started losing it. And I hate to give the history lesson. We started losing it after 2001.
Yeah.
Then we lost it again in the financial crisis as we optimized the bottom line through headcount reductions. And then really through the pandemic, headcount reductions and then positions being combined, that really came to be a thing that we had to do. So we have a tough message, and it's kind of a PR challenge. I love what AHLA is doing with their intern program. I love certifications. You don't see it on here, but on my LinkedIn, you'll see I have my CHA, Certified Hotel Administrator. I'm extremely proud of that, right? That's a hard test, but I felt really good when I started wearing that pin and could say I'm a certified hotel administrator. I don't know what that means necessarily, but it's something that I really like, right? So I think it's important that we pour into that. And that's what I'm going to be spending time doing too. I mean, that's one of the things I want to do is make sure we give back to our people and to our industry.
That's
it's so funny. I didn't take that test, but our doctor producer, who's a PhD in hospitality, she said it's a hard test too. I really thought, honestly, I thought it was like I could probably sit down and take it when, 20 years ago and pass it with flying colors. I didn't realize, and I think that's got to be a marketing thing, that's a real test with real, and it's hard. And I didn't know that. Like, that's never been marketed right to me, that I know if I got that certification, that means something. I always thought, to be honest with you, I didn't think it was a big deal at all. I thought it was a little bit.
No. It's hard. It's a hard test.
Yeah, Dr. Producer Suzanne says, took her 2 times. Nope, you will fail, all in caps. I swear, Anthony. It's like 4 books of
Whoa. I am taking the test.
He's laughing now.
Because you said that. Are you out of your mind? Did you just challenge me?
Uh-oh, she's nodding yes and has her 2 thumbs up.
Chris, she hasn't met me, Chris. She just challenged me.
Here's the thing I would say. I would say if you believe you could pass it without reading the study books, I would say no. Only because it's extremely technical. And so I actually wrote it's funny, I remember this to this day. I wrote an argument piece back to the certification organization with EI, whatever the organization is, Educational Institute. I wrote it back arguing about one of their revenue management points. I disagreed with what they had in their handbook. And so the professor and I got into kind of a back and forth. It wasn't even email then, it was like a letter.
Right.
But he ended up saying,
your quill pen?
Yeah. Dear sir, dearest professor, it's been a fortnight. So I sounded English there. So
well, that's because it makes you sound smart.
I want to ask a question that I think is important for a lot of executives that are going from junior executives to senior executives and forward. How do you go from an operations guy, a GM, VP, and then how do you go to being the CEO or president without getting down into the operation, without having your brain keep you in the things that you're comfortable with? How do you elevate your brain to rise above that? Because if you do that, you'll never grow the business. How do you do that?
It's such a great question because this is a big organization, right? So I only have 3 direct reports now. I have the COO, the chief accounting officer, and the chief commercial officer. right? So that's not a lot of direct reports. So for a high energy guy like me, a details guy, a person who wants to know everything that's going on, it does create, honestly, anxiety with me. And this is what I've learned, Anthony, is I've already told everybody, I said, listen, don't let it alarm you if I reach down into the organization and ask questions.
Right.
Because I need to understand at a very deep level how everything works. However, what you have to do then is take what you learn and not say to the person, that's a division vice president, hey, go implement it. You've got to go take it back and do like a regression. You go, okay, if that's an issue or a challenge, what is the next step back and the next step back? And then what is the big rock that Chris Green needs to focus on? Right.
So that way you're not micromanaging, you're more of overall strategy based on the communications.
But in my career, I've had a problem with this, and I learned it. I learned how to be better at it. However, when you see a problem that can be fixed literally in one meeting with one policy, and it's implemented and it's done, but you can't do that, because if you do, there's not only positions, but there's egos. It's like, and I know if I worked for you and you went in and reached into one of my general managers and talked to them about fixing this, you and I would square off. I'd be like, Chris, you're not doing that. You can fire me right now if you want, but do not reach into my organization and tell my team what to do. Tell me. But then if you're telling me every 5 minutes there's a problem, so that's a real challenge for a real executive. And that's why there's real executive retreats and executive education, because that's the mind that very few people can make that leap. A lot of people can't go from full bird colonel to general because of that.
Yeah. So I heard this talk a long time ago about I don't know the exact word. I think it's the penultimate domino and the anti-penultimate domino. Like there's in a like when you set up dominoes to knock them over, you've got to figure, when you get to senior leadership, you've got to figure out what's the penultimate, the number one domino, right? Because your team is the ones that knock over the rest of the dominoes. You've got to get it crystallized, and you've got to be able to message it. So there's an executive skill you've got to learn.
Right.
How do you message it in a way that the team understands the net effect of this domino is, in Boston Back Bay at the Hilton, going to create this result all the way through the organization. And that's and so it's not easy, Anthony. And if you're a pure operator, which I am, and a guy of action, yeah, you want to pick up the tray and walk away with it, right? You want to, hey, I can fix this right now. That doesn't teach anybody anything. And actually it creates division and concern. Coaching creates,
But that's why these organizations, when they get so large, because someone comes into the position, says, I have to let my people manage, and then they're trying to, keep this under control and everybody kind of play nice in sandbox, but things are starting to not kind of get picked up because we're all trying to play nice in the sandbox. And that's where some of these organizations lose their way. And what's great for me to see someone like you, who's really been educated not only in the executive suite, but also in being a busboy, because you're still at the end of the day just a busboy, to be able to know that those are two challenges. And that's why I bring these up, because you're the first person that I'm able to talk to honestly and clearly and get a true answer, without all this, political crap that people give me. So thank you for answering it. But I think that that's really where between brands and management and ownership and REITs and asset managers and general managers and unions and non-unions, that's where this all became a problem, because everybody just went into their little corner. And I know in Remington, that's not going to happen. So I thought it was really important to just express that and let young managers really understand that head, because that's a hard place to go.
Let me tell you a memory that's seared in my mind from when I was a young manager. I was the food and beverage director at a Hilton Hotel in Jacksonville, Florida. And every year they have the world's largest cocktail party there. It's the Florida Gators versus the Georgia Bulldogs. And I was new. I was a year into my career. And the general manager there, who I would call my mentor, his name is Mike Keeler, great guy. It was 5 o'clock on Friday, busiest weekend of the year. I mean, you're going to be crushed. He walked out of his office with his briefcase, kind of old school guy, had one of those square briefcases. And he said, "You got it, young man." And I mean, it's 5 o'clock and the bar's just now starting to get busy.
Right.
And I know that I had panic in my eyes a little bit. And he said, "You got it." And he walked out the door. It was a huge lesson, a lesson in confidence for me, a lesson in leadership for me. And guess what? I did have it. We did great. but I had to be kicked out of the nest, right? So it doesn't do any good for him. He could have run it. He's done it for 30 years. I can go back. I can run this hotel. I'm sure I could run this hotel. I'm probably a little rusty after I haven't been a GM now in like 15 years. A little crazy to say that, but so.
Well, Glenn, I have one more thing. Can I?
Yeah, then I got something.
Okay. When I was turning around the Algonquin, I brought in a new team, and my new team was phenomenal. And we got this gentleman, this banker, who was having a 1-year anniversary and rented out the entire lobby of the Algonquin for $100,000 and got Burt Bacharach to sing in the lobby. And it was our first real event and first of our team coming together. It was our Super Bowl. And it was 3 days before the event. And I was fully me. And for way too long. And I remember tapping out and going, guys, I'm going away for 3 days. I'm going to come back the night of the event, and I'm just going to celebrate, and I'm just going to be in the background. And it was so nerve-wracking to me to do that. But then I realized when I did tap out, it's like, these people are great. And if they fail and if we screw this up, I won't be upset because I know they're great. And I know they're trying their best. And literally, I walked down I went to the gym. I came in the back door, went to the gym, went to my room, came back down about 7 o'clock. And I walked into this beautiful ice carving with beautiful amenities everywhere. And literally started, as everybody knows, I cry, started tearing up. And I never, ever gave direction the entire night. And the gentleman came over to me and said, of all the events I've ever had, and I've had them at the Four Seasons, in the Plaza, in the Waldorf, best event we ever had. So knowing when to tap out is what I'm trying to get you to express and me to express to young managers. People know what is expected. Once they know what's expected, you got to get out of their way, or you'll fail. They won't fail. You'll fail because they'll stop listening to you.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, there's no way for one person to manage 120 hotels, right? It's just not possible. And honestly, I would do a horrible job at it. So that's not my job. My job is to create an environment where the leaders lead. They understand the framework. Mm-hmm. They understand the filters of what I believe and what we believe as an organization, what our framework is, and then they go. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, right? That'd be my mom's saying. And so within the framework of controls and leadership, I want entrepreneurial people that want to win. They let me be entrepreneurial back when I was a GM, and I just loved that. Right? Because you've got to have a little bit of belief in yourself if you're going to be a general manager of a hotel or a leader of a business. So you want room to thrive, right? But we have rules about things, safety and cleanliness. Those things have to be adhered to. Those are non-negotiables. But within that, there's a ton of freedom. And what I love about our business is the freedom part, the delivering memorable experiences, seeing people deliver memorable experiences and getting it. Because a switch turns on in people when they finally understand hospitality, what it means to be at the front desk over here or in the restaurant over there, changing somebody's day just through the gift of hospitality.
Beautiful. I love it. All right. So I got a question from our friend, Sarthak. He is the CEO of Creative Exchange. They have a turnkey solution for booking live music at your hotels, which is really, really cool. He wants to know, how do you see the hospitality industry reinventing itself to keep employees engaged?
I think it's a great question. I mean, we're having to do a 180 from what things used to be, right? And this business used to be a grind. Really did, and I came up through that time, and Anthony came up through that time. It was just kind of who can work the longest, who can outwork anybody else, and we have got to be much more like our chief competitors, Uber, and things like that are happening. There's a lot of solutions out there where you can hire market experts, and they can post for a job on an app, and they can work this weekend if they want, and then they can never work again, or they can keep working, and they get ratings just like your Uber driver, and they rate us like, don't go back to that hotel. I mean, the new economy is fascinating, and frankly, as hoteliers, we've kind of been slow to adapt new technology. And I hate talking about the pandemic, but
especially since you declared it, we're not talking about it anymore in this beginning of this.
But it forced
if we don't talk about it, we're not going to learn. So we have to
go. I know, we're just teasing. Go on.
Yeah, it forced us to immediately rethink everything. everything, how we acquire guests, how we take care of our associates. I mean, the wellness program I hear at Remington, our slogan is room to thrive. Like that's our wellness program. It's massive. I got to tell you guys a story.
Yeah.
And this is how engaged the team is. We had a steps challenge where everybody used a Fitbit or an Apple Watch and tracked their steps 2 months ago. And the company that puts it on has a lot of much larger companies than Remington. We have just over 10,000 associates. But we put on this challenge, and we produced in 30 days, 28 days, 97 million steps. It was the highest recorded step count they'd had of any company in any challenge they had done. To me, there's energy behind that kind of engagement, and that only works where people are kind of attached to what you're trying to do and understand why we're doing these things. So, we're spending as much time on wellness, on growth in DEI, on our culture as we are on P&Ls and star reports and the stuff. I mean, honestly, those are the table stakes. All of this stuff is now the VIP poker room, and that's where we want to play is the VIP poker room.
I love. How many steps was it?
96 point something million. Yeah,
that's the same amount of steps on an average Disney World vacation, by the way.
No, but I think listen, I love having you on because you're talking about real stuff that's really important to the hospitality industry. And today, if we don't ensure that those table stakes are met, then what happened in the pandemic? People just gave up. I have a client. I have clients, right? So one client this morning texted me at 5:30 a.m. Okay, I got up at 5:45 a.m. and I did some research, whatever, and got back the answer by 6:15. He had the answer that he was looking for, right? Now, there's some clients that I will text at 7 a.m. and that client does a good job of saying, no, and by 9:15, they'll respond. They don't respond until they start their day. Everybody's got to find their thing, but don't be insulted by people that get up at 5:30 in the morning and send you a text. Don't answer it till you're ready to answer it, but don't get insulted by it. I love that. Like I was excited. Ooh, wow, 5:30. So I want to show him that I'm up at 5:45 and I'm going to answer his text. Now there's other clients that I have that maybe I'll be like, you know what? I'll get back to him at 10 a.m. because that's maybe a different standard. But it's up to you to set those things. I think that's one of the things that the younger generation, I hate to use that term, but people have got to do, like you control you. Don't think they're going to judge you because you're going to respond at 9 a.m. But don't get mad at them because they sent you a text at 5:30 a.m. Again, some people disagree with me. I have my phone off, so it's not going to disturb me. I'm going to choose when I respond to that text message.
Well, the other thing is as leaders of the grind era, we'll call it, we have to be thoughtful too. Right. Because I am, and honestly, I love cell phone. I love my phone. I love text messages because it's instant and it's now. And I also am getting a little bit older, so I need to kind of get the thought out or else it'll be gone forever. Yeah, so right. The problem is we need to think and we need to be really careful with the boundaries we set for our teams. Because what happens if Chris Green has a thought about something at Sunday at 5 o'clock and I text 3 or 4 people in operations? Guess what?
They're going to feel compelled.
I'm the president, so they got to get busy, right? I don't like that. I want to be thoughtful about people's lives because I love my family and I like having my time off too, right? Imagine that, having time off in this business, but it's real and we have to honor that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I want to make sure that I understand that. But what I'm saying is there's a way to set a standard within the company. Maybe it's email. If I send you an email on a Sunday night, I'm getting it out there. And matter of fact, I'll be upset if you answer me Sunday night. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a standard that's got to be met. I set a standard for myself because I run my own company. And basically the standard for myself is I work 24/7. And I will respond to everything all the time because that's just my standard. And if you take that away from me, I'll probably die because that's just who I am. With that said, I don't expect people to get back to me right away. Matter of fact, to your point, Chris, I will be upset. I want people to have balance, and I want people to have more balance with their family than they do at work. I want them to enjoy their life because if they enjoy their life, they will work harder and they will enjoy their work more. But just for me, I enjoy that. Like you said, I'm 57 years old, going to turn 58. If I don't get it out, it ain't coming back.
Yep, absolutely. So
You should hear me and Glenn speak.
It's
like, remember the thing we did where? I don't know.
Yeah, with those people. Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
Remember? Really? You just asked me the question the other day, and you're like, remember when we did so-and-so? And I was like, and usually within 30 seconds, they'll come back to me.
Right.
It still hasn't come back to me.
Yeah, I was like looking at some of the podcasts we did this last year because I'm trying to think of like the best ones for the year to rerun the last week of the year. And I'm like, I had no recollection that I did that show at all. I'm like, oh, that's a good topic. Glad we covered it. Yeah.
But I think you're right, Chris. If we don't show people that their life is more important than our business, then we won't have a great business. And you can do that. Listen, I said it out loud. Your life is more important than my business. I said it out loud, right? Whereas a lot of people thought our business is more important than their lives. If we don't fix that, we have a problem.
Right. I got a couple more questions. So we're going to go to Richard, then Daniel. We'll get to you because that'll be a nice capper. Richard is saying, hey, why do employees not want to work? That's his words. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't like the situation. But even after being hired and agreeing with their pay in terms of employment, example, work 2 days and then stop coming. Is that a culture issue? Is it a confusion issue? How do you see that? And how do you stop that from happening or attempt to?
I still think there's a big disconnect a lot of places on what is assumed to be the case by the employee coming on and what actually occurs. To Anthony's point, we've done a horrible job historically of training, right? Inside the hotels. A lot of times, and especially now, we're so short of people. We're doing much better, but we're so short that we get them in and they're like, go to work, right? Well, guess what that creates? That creates an opportunity for them to fail immediately. How would you want to be there 2 days, fail immediately? I wouldn't want to go back to that either. There's our peer set spends a lot of time investing in training, development, growth, even before people interact with customers. We've got to be more thoughtful about how we bring people into the industry and then show them it's worth staying. Now, again, listen, there is an economy out there where people are just trying stuff, right? I hear about it all the time. They're just, I'm going to try this. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And they're really not concerned like we were of having 30 jobs on their resume. I think I have 3, right? And it's 35 years.
Right.
So a lot of different titles with the same jobs. So I think that's what's going on is there's a disconnect in what we've been delivering as a business to what people are expecting. And here we are, Anthony saying, come to us because it's really great, you know? And I see Richard's replying.
Yeah, I'll bring it up on the screen. This is during the training period, he's saying.
I get it. But it's still, there must be a disconnect to what they believe they were going to be doing, or they just don't like it. And in our day, my dad would have said, get back in there, right? But today's world, they're like, I don't like it. I'm not doing it no more. So,
so there is, and I think that you answered that perfectly. And I think that there's some of that. So to his question, listen, there is going to be some of that no matter what you do. But I think there has to be, you got to stop the train and you've got to like literally just stop it and say, okay, where do we bring in onboarding? We have on-the-job training. We have 3 days of training. No, I want to call it onboarding. And what is the onboarding look like? Well, I need a person today and I need a person tomorrow. Okay, but you know what? They can't start till Monday because we have this structure called onboarding, and we're onboarding everyone on Monday through Friday, and this is what we're training them. I'll give you an example. I was mentoring this kid, and we were having lunch, and he said to me, he showed me the master key. I go, what do you do with the master key? He goes, well, they gave it to me. I go, you're not allowed to take the master key to the hotel home? They're like, well, nobody told me that. I go, well, when's your onboarding? Right? When's your onboarding? And he said, in a week. So in the onboarding, he was told, you're not allowed to bring the master key home, but somebody gave him a master key and he brought it home. I was literally, my head exploded.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. I'm sure Mr. President needs to be getting gone real soon, but we got one more question, of course, from Lord Daniel. And Daniel, thanks for those videos that you sent me yesterday. We'll be sharing them soon enough. Chris, can I hear you, Mr. Green's year-end message to all the listeners in our hospitality family? Happy holidays to you and your family. I'm your biggest fan.
Well, that's very kind, Daniel. Thanks. So you can't if you know me at all, you know I do. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And so it's super hard at this time of year, whatever you choose to celebrate, to not have a level of emotion flowing through you that's higher than the rest of the year. People are generally nicer and everybody's more kind. And I think it's how we should live all year long. But for all of you out there in the no vacancy listening zone and to all of our friends in the hospitality business, I want to wish you the greatest holidays. I'm so happy to celebrate the end of 2022 and look forward expectantly into 2023. I think great things are to come. I'm looking forward to a little tiny break here at the end of the year with my family. And then I'm very proud to say that in January, I celebrate 25 years with my lovely wife. So I've got a lot to look forward to and be thankful for. And to all of you from me and the Remington family and the extended hospitality family, happy holidays.
Beautiful. Anthony, we can't hear you.
Yeah,
That's part of the show.
Sorry, Chris, that was beautiful. But I want to know if this is true. When you became president, that you made it mandatory for everyone to listen to No Vacancy, and there's a test once a month on all the information that is said here on No Vacancy. Is that true?
I thought it would be very interesting to actually do our staff meetings on No Vacancy. Right?
That's a good idea.
It'd be like a teaching environment, and then everybody could be tested, and we could share the knowledge, right?
Yep.
So,
Really do.
Great. Chris
I
Green,
appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you. We love you. Congratulations again, and we'll see you in 2023. See you later.
Love you, brother.
All right. That was a lot of fun.
You would be remiss to say
Yes.
we had a guest
Yes.
that couldn't make it today. And at the last minute, you called Chris, and as busy as he is, you can see he's traveling and he's got so much going on. Say, Chris, we would love to have you on at the last minute, before the year ends. And he graciously interrupted his day to be on. So that tells you what kind of guy he is.
It sure is. All right, let's wrap this up. Be sure to download our podcast. Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud. You know the drill by now. Download it. You won't regret it. And if you're listening, why not give us a little look? Watch us on LinkedIn, Facebook, novacancynews.com, and of course, YouTube. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. Tomorrow, Anthony, we've got the executive director of Visit Longmont. We're going to talk about how they're trying to separate themselves from the rest of the pack out there in Colorado when it comes to getting travelers. And then on Thursday, I'm excited because we got Greg Jusium, CEO of Extended Stay America. That should be a lot of fun too.
And for our guests that are waiting for our Pentagon podcast, when will that be dropping?
We're still working on it. We've got to go through a lot of layers of clearance and stuff like that. And also something about we can't run it to a DEFCON 4 or something like that. I don't know. So we'll figure that out. All right, everybody. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you later.